What's on the menu for today? We overdosed on the yakisoba pan with spoilers for 13 Sentinels. Uh, let's go ahead and talk about the ending. Let's just jump right to it. Nick, you want to bring out the first point on the ending for this? You know, one of the big spoilers?
It's all VR. It's all a virtual reality system. That's the
All
biggest
right.
thing.
Was the
You know,
Matrix.
yeah, it was the Matrix. They're all sleeping in pods, and they basically are supposed to wake up when they're so they come out of the virtual reality system when they're 18, and then they go through some sort of 2 year training of sorts, and then they're brought out into this new world. It's supposed to be Earth 2.0. It's a different planet. They basically are on this flying ship moving through space, going to a different planet somewhere that's supposed to be habitable because the Earth has been destroyed by whatever global warming or whatever the case may
I think it
be.
was the nanovirus, wasn't it, that was infecting all the nanites in people?
Oh, okay, the nanovirus.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they basically there's 13. Well, there's so the game is 13 Sentinels, which is 13 pilots, but there's actually 15 actual physical people that come out into this pod, a mixture of men and women, and they're supposed to come out and repopulate the Earth and build things and bring everybody together. That's pretty much how it comes out to be.
15 people repopulating the planet. There's a lot of key parties.
Yeah. So that was actually pretty cool. I mean, I figure. I mean, you kind of get the sense that. I mean, you start to learn as the story progresses that it is some sort of virtual reality or some sort of simulation. The kaiju are not supposed to be a part of this simulation, and so you learn that it was actually a video game created by Okino with some bad coding, and, and he basically injected in there, and it kind of came out and started, destroying this virtual world. And really, there's a thing called universal control, which is the main computer, basically the main processor controlling everything. And uh, if it sees this kaiju thing as a threat, it would take care of it, but it doesn't see it that way. It just sees it as some normal, hey, everything is cool, everything's kosher, and it's not. So they're trying to basically get universal control to recognize that there's a problem and that it needs to
Right.
take care of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, there's lots of the ending was pretty interesting. Yeah, what I had a question about too is that the more I thought about this, the more there's somewhat of a loophole in there because supposedly this ship they're on going to this new planet has been traveling through space for like a long time. I think I can't remember how long they said, but it was like an insurmountable amount of time. So how did they keep the pods from aging? Did they just dump out when the game ended? Because basically, when they went through and reset it, the reset, did they just flush all the old pods away, and then everybody was cloned again? Because when they popped out, they were only like 18. You
Right.
know, they were popping out of the pods at 18 to repopulate the planet. Well, 18, and then they got taken out of their little areas and put into a program that gave them knowledge over the course of 2 years. So they popped out when they were 20. You know,
Right.
so what happened? So they're going through space for hundreds of. It was. I thought it was a million. It could have been less or whatever, but it was a long time. And now they're, you know,
I thought it was like 10, 20,000
yeah, something
years
long.
of normal time, but I thought that there was also different versions of like this was the final 15. This was the final 15 that they grew, and then the sectors kind of represented the reboots. So they had the reboots with each sector, and then finally they figured out how to in the simulation there at that last at sector 0, I think it was, or was it no sector 5?
No, Sector
Sector
Zero.
0.
Sector Zero
Yeah,
is the
sector
beginning. It
0.
goes back
So
to the beginning, and that's the
yeah,
universal
so that
control.
was what that's what I got out of it. I mean, I thought that, but so like going into storylines, like what was everybody's favorite storyline? I mean, that's Nick pretty much explained it perfectly
Right.
um,
Yeah.
on what the gist of the end of the game is. So what's the favorite
Yeah.
storyline?
Okuno was a
I
lazy guy.
didn't finish it, just as a heads up.
For me, it was still, on my original review, it was Jiro, and for me, it's still Jiro in the end. I thought his storyline was the coolest because at first you really don't really don't care much about Juro, and but as you can progress his storyline, his gets really interesting with the AI that you find out is controlling him, who is actually his former self or his original self, and um, you find out that the cat is that guy, and
Oh,
just
good lord.
everything like that. It's just
Right.
his is just crazy.
Well, because you find out that the 15 pilots are based off of 15. They're 15 people in reality that are now
Right.
AIs in the construct. So
Right.
they're
Those that were meant to build the next
Right.
life.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, are based off of they're clones of the 15 people that are now AIs in the construct. But then it gets really convoluted because then you got Kisagari's story, who she is like three people in the whole story. She's herself, she's the android, and then she's the singing chick, the
Yeah.
singing AI. So it gets kind of really weird and intertangled in there towards the end. You're like, there's three Kisagaris and there's
Well, Sector Zero is where their AI personalities
live.
exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're able to, in that one flashback where she does put, or was it Ida? I guess the original
Ida.
guy
Yeah. Ida was
puts
in love with her.
Right, and he puts her in an android. So he basically pulls that information from Section Zero or Sector Zero, which is where the original AI exists.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Where
So
they're
it was yeah, it gets convoluted and messy towards the end for sure, because you're like, who is this and who is that, and you get all these stories that you're like, that plays out differently, because you have Yuki, who is like Natsuno's mom, but
Right.
then they're the same age now because they're clones of each other, and
Yeah.
it gets convoluted and weird. And then you have Miura, who is like an AI in BJ, and then it's a real person. So yeah, the sectors were for different time periods. Like they were supposed to be raising these people in different time periods so they can learn lessons of humanity type
Yeah,
stuff.
Right.
to
It's like
bring
a
them
big
together
history
so
lesson.
that they can.
Yeah.
Well, it was their way of learning the history. It was
Right.
like each person had a bit of the history, but I think a little bit of like an underlining thing within it all too is that I think a point that maybe we might have missed just a little bit was that these 13, 15 clones ended up being the best versions of each one of them. As you went through the storyline, each original version of them was very selfish. They had reasoning for doing whatever they were doing through that storyline, and then their clones ended up being the best versions of them to kind of come together at the end to to whatever we're to assume to repopulate the Earth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, or repopulate the new planet. Yeah, because then they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, I should say the new planet. My bad.
Yeah, because then it was just the end got really weird. Because then it fast forwards to like 5 years later, where they rebuild the construct and they go back inside and talk to all the people that they basically left behind that are AI constructs and not real people.
Yeah.
Right, in which they're going to make a, what is it, Ruko or Ruto, or what's that girl's name with the bandages?
Tomo.
No,
Oh
not
yeah,
Tomo.
no, Ryusoko or whatever.
Yeah, her and like I can't remember who else. Maybe
Wasn't it Goto?
Misamoko, whatever her name was,
Yeah.
big girl, like the
Oh, you're talking
eaten-
about Miwako.
Yeah,
well,
they're-
they're gonna bring them
Miwako,
back
yeah.
as clones,
Yeah.
right? They're gonna make those
Yeah.
I don't know machines
yeah.
or whatever that do that.
Right. They're gonna try to
Shane,
make clones.
so what about you? Like up to what you played, what was your favorite storyline through what you played?
I don't think I understood enough of the story to get enough of the storyline.
Shane barely made it out of the
I only
prologue
got,
for everybody.
I only got probably 18, 16 hours right in there into it. I don't know. What I enjoyed about it was so freaking anime. I mean, the whole trope of anime, it was there. Everything that you've ever seen in any anime was just thrown all over the place. I mean, you're talking cats, you're freaking well-endowed ladies teachers who all the boys are drooling on, trying to not be perverse here, but all of those typical tropes, and that's what I loved about it. I mean, the interaction, the boy. I'm going to forget all their names just because I cannot remember names for crap.
There's a lot
The
of
boy
them.
was trying to impress the tough chick. He's like, hey, you beat the crap out of all of them? And then he was like,
Amaguchi.
Amaguchi, yes.
Yeah.
He like Yuki. I'm a good
I
Yuki.
just loved all of that. I'm a huge anime fan. So it worked it worked great, and it's one I want to finish. It's just, I mean, it's hard to do with our schedule. I mean, between
Yeah.
regular jobs, this, and trying to play games, and unfortunately, I have too many children. No, just kidding.
And
Now there
Well,
is
I thought,
a secret hidden video. I don't know if you watched it, Russ. Did you watch the
yeah.
secret hidden video?
I know about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, me and Nick discussed that one already too. But there's a hidden, which basically means that the story could be continued if they so chose to do it.
A sequel would definitely be warranted for this game. I don't know what the sales are like, but I mean, in this group, it's been a fantastic buy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in your sense of talking about it being like anime, you know, and I think me and Patrick talked about this before. This would make an awesome anime. I mean, this would be an anime.
Oh
I would
yeah,
watch.
yeah.
Oh yeah. It's got everything, because in the beginning you think it's all time travel. You're like, how are these guys traveling through time, and why are these gates important, and why can they only go 40 years in one direction or the other? And then you find out it's not freaking time travel.
Right, and to see in the anime, to see like the kaiju and the like Pacific Rim robots,
That would be cool,
you know,
yeah.
fighting and stuff. That would be really cool.
Yeah, you just see the
Because
kaiju
some of those
come rolling
robots
in.
were really cool looking, and you don't get to see
Oh,
them
yeah.
in the fighting, of course, because of that tactical view. But like the concept art and like the you know, the art that they show of the different the robots and the kaiju look really cool. And it's like, oh man, I would just love to see that like in first person like action of them fighting or something.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I liked. For me, I liked. I liked Juro's too. I mean, that was kind of as it progressed, it really got good for me. But just to kind of go somewhere different than where Nick went. Is it Megumi?
Megumi?
Megumi.
Yeah, her story initially it was like, all right, she's vengeful, she's boring. Okay, let's get through her stuff, and then just to kind of see how everything kind of changed and how it ended up. And then the interaction with the cat and all of that there, and then end up being with Juro at the very end, the actual Karabe Juro. That was really
Izumi.
cool. Well, she actually ended up with the Karabe version of Izumi in the end.
No, they
She actually-
transformed. Because
transformed?
Megami, the Megami girl, actually ended up with the assassin guy.
No,
That was Megami.
Iori did.
Yeah,
Oh,
Iori.
Fuyusaki, yeah. Megami,
yeah.
because Megami
Yeah.
was the one. Yeah,
There's at the very end.
Yeah.
They both came out of the pod, Jiro and
Yeah.
Megumi, and they were in the.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was
Gotcha, I
really
see what
cool.
you're
Like, but this was kind of that tone I was saying a minute ago of like almost everybody, even though there was 13 of them, almost every single one of them had their own reason of wanting to do story A part of it, but then it ended up like all of them intertwined to be like the saviors of it all. It was just really interesting how they kind of intertwine that, and you know, Yakisobe-ban, I want some of that. One of
I
my
want some
favorite
right now.
you know
I do
voice
too.
actors, you know, out of the Yakuza series. I mean, that was hilarious. The fact that he wasn't sure if he switched hit or not. I mean, that was kind of funny.
The very ending was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And
When
it
she's
was,
like,
it was
"Do you want to
fantastic.
fill up my skirt to find out?" That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he's like
yeah.
at the very end. He's like, I can be whatever I want to be in here.
In the contract,
Yeah, that was pretty good.
making him blush.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was
It was good.
it was very interesting how they intertwined, because I was at one point in time, I think I was out at about, I don't know, I was probably at about 63%, 64% or so of the story, and I'm like, how much more? And then all of a sudden it went up just a notch. Like everything you were seeing, it was starting to kind of come together. And
Right.
and is there a story that y'all didn't like as much as the others, or just was like, I have to get through this?
Well, yeah, I was mad that they didn't give Miwakasa any because like, she
Right?
was my
I thought,
favorite.
You know, I thought
she was gonna be a hidden
Miwakasa
sleeper or
would
something.
be- yeah, I did too. I thought she was gonna be like some sleeper agent or like the main thing, because they focused on her a lot, and I think it was
Right.
just.
Yeah.
I think it was really just to give her like personality and to make you like her, which you do, right? I mean,
Right.
she's the fun-loving, like food craved, you know, anime character that they have in every anime.
Right. She's
you
the
know?
boy crazy one that loves all her food, and then
Right.
they leave her behind. I was so mad. I'm like, oh, they killed her off. They better not killed her off because they left her behind.
I thought Nagata's is it Nagata's story?
Yep, Ogata, yeah.
I struggled through that there, especially after this same starting point
I
after about the
love the
fifth or sixth time.
recycling of the subway. I
Yeah.
thought that
Oh
was
my
pretty
gosh,
cool.
I struggled through that part there. It was really, really
You want
tough.
to go beat up the bullies? You want to go chase down Juro?
Yeah.
Do you want to go do this? You want to go do that? And then you're like, that's when you really, because before that, you really didn't understand how Nagato and Kisagari kind of work together. You're like,
Yeah.
what do they have in common? And then you find out they really like each other in this version of themselves. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it ended up. I mean, the story in the end, once you figured it all out, I mean, it was like once you got to about 83% or whatever of his story, it was like, okay, yeah, this is actually kind of cool. But I struggled through that mid part there. I was just like, I was so done with Okino, and it was just like, man. But that was my worst part of it. Everything else was kind of like I kept going and kept going, and then it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh crap, I need to get some sleep maybe.
yeah, there was no putting 10 minutes into that game. I'll put 10
No.
minutes in here, and then I'll get back.
Yeah.
You're like,
no.
oh, this won't take very long, and then like 2 hours
Right.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing I have to say about just the very beginning, you don't even realize you're doing like, was it 8 hours of just tutorial. I mean,
Yeah.
because they fill you
Prologue.
with so much story, prologue, and information.
Yeah.
And then when you got through it, it's like, that's the freaking tutorial. Holy crap.
There's a lot to know, though. There really
Yeah.
is. a
Oh,
lot
there
to know.
is. There
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
it was never like overfill of information at one time. The way they did the tutorial was really nice because there is so much of it. The way they did it out through those 8 chapters, whatever.
10, or
that was.
10, I
Was
think.
it 10? I think it was
Yeah.
10. But anyways, they never overfilled you all at once, and they made it to where it became muscle memory as you got through. So you never like, oh crap, how did you do this command, or how did you set up the turret or whatnot? It never felt
Right.
over.
It's really
over,
easy to understand.
information.
They give you a lot of information, but all the information is easy to understand. You're like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, I get that. All right, cool. And then, yeah, I mean, the game's pacing, I think, is pretty good. I mean, there are some slow spots, like Russ was saying, but, like, those slow spots, you kind of push yourself through them for a minute, and you're like, this is kind of getting boring, and then something happens where it just, like, hooks you, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
There you
there's
go.
always, every story has that part where you're
Right.
just kind of like going through it, like, I'm just kind of going through the paces, and then it hooks you somewhere, and you're like, oh, wait a
Right.
minute, this is getting interesting.
Like the last half of the game, I just kept wanting to push through and finish because I was like, it's getting really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's
But-
one thing I do love about a good game. A good game always makes you just go, yeah, I can be late for work.
Yeah,
That's what
I
that-
don't need to
what
go
that
to bed
game
just
does.
yet. I don't need to go to bed just yet.
Yeah.
I do plan on going back in like the last 2 fights. I probably plan on going back and attempting those at a more difficult level, just because I'm just curious to see how insane that fight can get. Because I dumbed it down to casual in order for me to finish the game, to kind of be able to discuss with the guys, and so I did that for the last 3 fights. So I'd like to go back there, put it at normal first, and then go back and put it at crazy, because like that last even at casual was pretty fun. I mean, I loved that. I didn't think I would love that kind of combat as much as I did, but I really had a great time with that combat system. The turn base has the last few games we played. The turn base has been such a good system that I really feel as though I'm engaged in it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, combat's really good. Cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said in the review, you wouldn't think that top-down tactical view. You're just kind of like, when you first see it, you're kind of like, I'm not sure about this. But once you start playing with it, you're like, oh yeah, this works out well. Yeah,
That's literally
this
what
is
I
fun.
told a few people. It's the trailer for it. I was like,
It doesn't do it justice, right? Until you
It
start
doesn't.
playing it.
It
And once you start
really
playing it,
doesn't.
you're like, oh wow, okay, this works great. Like
Yeah.
because I can set everything up, right? I can set my sentry guns where I want them,
Yep.
and I can set my flyers where I want them to be, and they can throw out their interceptors, or okay, there's the big guy over there. I'm gonna throw my first gen Sentinels over there because they got that big, what is that big punch?
The Ripper, yeah, the
the
Ripper,
Ripper,
whatever it is,
whatever.
yeah.
demolition blade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they got
they
Or
the
demolisher blade, I
the
think it is.
Demolisher
Yeah.
blade. Yeah, that thing just rips right through him, so I can send
Yeah.
him over there to go do that. And,
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really cool weapons, like just seeing all the missiles coming out when you do like the missile barrage, or I think what's
If you
her
get towards
name?
the end, the
That
actual
one
rocket
girl-
barrage.
The missile
the
rain
miss-
or
missile
whatever.
Yeah,
it
the
is.
rain of
Yeah,
missiles.
Missile
Yeah.
rain. Yeah, yeah.
The one I love is what's the girl that's we were talking about earlier that becomes an android and she's the AI.
Kisaragi.
Usami.
Kisaragi, the blonde chick.
Kisaragi, yeah, the braided blonde. She
Yeah.
gets
That's also
that missile, that
Usami-chan.
giant missile,
The mega missile or
the
whatever
mega
it is.
missile. Oh my god, that thing was awesome.
It tears out like a quarter of the screen. It's
It
like a
does.
nuclear blast.
It's like a nuke. Yeah, you're basically
Yeah.
just shooting a nuke.
Yeah.
I
But it
love
drains
it.
all,
She's
like,
a
all of
pretty
her
strong
power.
character,
Her
yeah.
power
It
bar
does.
goes like. Whoop.
Yeah, so you gotta defend or whatever to get your power back up. But
Right.
Yeah.
just shooting that thing, especially if there's a big group, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot this nuke right over there and just destroy half of them.
Yeah, because when you do the missile rain, though, it like covers like half the screen with missiles. It's
It
like, oh
does.
my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, I would like one half. I'd fire those off. What I would do is I would skip around and set everybody up, and then let everything come down. Then everything come down, do missile rain, drop as many sentry guns as I could do, and then grab Megumi and what's the other one that does the. They basically, you can go halfway across the screen and just launch missiles around you.
Oh yeah, the flyer.
Like
ones.
yeah, the flyer ones. I would have my two guys just kind of going around and hitting up pockets, and then you'd tear some things up pretty
coming
well
in with
that,
the heavy
so.
hitters behind them and mopping them up.
Oh yeah, I mean those guys I'm sending to the big guys automatically. I mean that's always happening. So it was good. It was a good, solid, fun game with a great ending. I mean if there's a second one that comes out, I'm on board.
Yep,
Oh,
same
yeah.
here. Good game.
Yeah, definitely don't let this one slip by you.
No,
Awesome.
we put in our hidden gems, for a reason, because this one, it came out toward the end of last year. What was it,
September
November,
for the U.S.
September?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
September for the U.S.
And I
But
didn't
it
even hear about. I don't think any of us heard about till like towards the end of the year.
right.
No, I didn't
But it was
hear
out in
about it.
Japan for over a year.
Yeah. So yeah, the ending's great. The story's great. The combat's a lot of fun. I mean, this just it's up there with one of the great games of last year. Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep, everybody needs to check it out.
Definitely.
All right, well, we appreciate you guys checking this out. Catch you later.